So, Luis, now what's your feeling about it? Because you've already had confidence in Mexico. It doesn't feel as though that's been swayed too much.
No,
This group is wide open. Who gets out of it?
Yeah, I didn't speak that much there because Sebastian Salazar was basically saying everything that I was thinking. And I wanted just to basically, I know that he's not here right now. Robotic Stevie Nickel has like gone away right now. But I do want to make a point. It's funny that right now we're talking about, oh, Mexico, what are you going to do now after getting a point against Poland, as opposed to saying Argentina just lost to Saudi Arabia, one of the greatest shocks in World Cup history. There was not good enough in-game management for Lionel Scaloni. There wasn't good enough strategy in that situation against a Saudi Arabian side that just did the Mike Tyson thing and punched you in the face when you thought you had a plan. Argentina is the one that we should be talking about. How are you going to get out of this group? Of course they can still do it. Of course they can still outdo everything and, reach, the latter stages of the knockouts, of course. But Mexico at this point have a point. We're much better than Poland and have something to build on. In a game where we're always talking about strategy and foundation and what things can happen when you do the right way, I think that Mexico can look at this. Tata Martino can look at this. I love that tweet, by the way. He totally, Ochoa is totally the Mariah Carey to Christmas to the World Cup. I think that the Mexican national team can look at a few things. Well, first of all, the number one piece of homework for Mexico is the one that's been continuously bugging them throughout qualifiers and even in friendlies, Nations League, which is they keep the ball very well, pretty patterns. They like to go wide and focus on Chucky Lozano. But when they lose the ball, that's when they become a little bit vulnerable and also penetrating inside the box. So Tata Martino has to think to himself, what can I do? Which goes back to my point, right? What do you have on the bench? It's a shame that Diego Lainez and Jimenez is not here. Now, the other thing, though, the last point that I will make is that
this was an amazing tweet.
This was incredible. And I don't claim I don't claim ownership.
It's the Louis Vuitton advert with Messi and Ronaldo, but somebody has photoshopped Memo
with the real star of the World Cup. With the real star of the World Cup.
But I love the fact that they picked that photo, him pondering, as both of them are playing chess, and Memo Ochoa is going, oye, wait, I know exactly who's going to win this. It's me. I love it so much. But there's a question here, and I ask it back to both of you. Sebi, who gets out of this group? Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland, or Argentina? Who gets out of it?
Look, I think you still have to respect Argentina, right? I mean, if they were to drop another game and see themselves eliminated, it would be a true shocker. I think they won't be as big a favorite as they were against Saudi Arabia, against Mexico, and against Poland. But I do think that this Argentina, with Lionel Messi in his last World Cup, it couldn't possibly go out in the group stage. So that leaves kind of one spot left. I think if you're Poland, you leave this game against Mexico feeling maybe a little bit like the United States felt after the game against Wales. It's a draw that tastes a little bit like defeat. You had a penalty kick with one of the greatest strikers of all time to win, and you couldn't get it done, right? Mexico, I think, comes out with a little different perspective. Yes, they've dominated the ball. Yes, they weren't as dangerous, but there's a lot of positives to take out of this. One, all the negativity that built up doesn't end in a game one loss. Right? And then on top of that, this is your big fear going into this game. Robert Lewandowski locked him up. And beyond that, the weakness of Mexican football for qualifying and the decade before that and the decade before that, and something that is so critical in tournament football is set pieces. There was 3 corner kicks in a row in the first 15 minutes of this game. And knowing what I know about Mexico and knowing what I know about Poland and Lewandowski, everyone was an infarto. No, it was a heart attack. And then as the game wore on, Mexico looked more and more sure on set piece. I got to shout out one guy in particular, Cesar Montes. He's not a young defender, but he's a youngish defender who plays in the Mexican League. That guy is ready for a big European move, especially after today. He had himself a great game. And so some of the big questions about this Mexican team were answered. There's still a question out there that wasn't answered. When Raul Jimenez comes on, I think we were all frustrated. Henry Martin got the start at the number 9. But when Stevie points out, hey, Mexico has all this dominant possession, but in the end doesn't put the ball in the net, a lot of that, I do believe, comes down to the number 9. And there are teams that have number 9s, and they resolve games for you. And Mexico's not one of those teams. So it's going to have to come down to a Chucky Lozano, Alexis Vega, one of these other guys maybe coming from midfield. I don't want to write Saudi Arabia off, but I do want to point something out. They play with fire, man. Full credit to Renard and how well drilled he has that back line. But And of course, it's something I think you can only do in the era of VAR. But for millimeters, they're not out of that game in the first half. And if they try to do that against Mexico, with Chucky Lozano running back in behind, and Alexis Vega running back in behind, and potentially a speedster, a real just north-south speed guy like Uriel Antuna running in behind, it's going to be trouble for Saudi Arabia. So I don't know if this is maybe some of the negativity and pessimism wearing off, but I feel like right now Mexico is very much in the pole position to take the second spot in this group.
It's an open group, okay? I'm not going to go too much here, but Saudi Arabia have 3 points, Poland and Mexico 1, and Argentina, supposedly the best one in this, a favorite to win the whole thing, with 0. Right now, it's an open group.
Yeah, it is. I can't tell if I'm being swayed. I had Argentina and Poland. I can't tell. And I don't know if even listening to you two, and especially...
Are you sticking with Poland, K-Mari?
Yes, I'm going to stick with my picks. I will stick with my picks, but let me say it's difficult to nail that down right now, especially with what I'm hearing from you both.
It'll be interesting.
I have one more thing to add that I think is important here with Argentina, because I had a concern when I saw the schedule laid out that Argentina would win the first 2 games, and because their goals in this tournament are so high, they think about semifinals and finals, that third game would be a perfect opportunity for them to rest some players, that gives some guys an opportunity to play in a World Cup, and that would favor Poland. That would give Poland an advantage to get points off of Argentina that Saudi Arabia wouldn't have had, and certainly Mexico wouldn't have had. I think Argentina losing this game forces Argentina into they're going to play everybody in that third game now, right? Because even if they get a win against Mexico,
they have to. When you lose that opening game to Saudi Arabia, you're not going to go for it. And by the way, Saudi Arabia, Poland next. Saudi Arabia's high line, that press, that suits Poland to a T. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.